I'm Pastor Phil VanDop. Welcome to Third Rail Ministries. I want to read something to you from Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, verses 2 to 4. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as chief among the mountains. It will be raised above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many people will come and say, "Come, let us go to the mountain to worship the Lord, to the house of God, to the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations, and they will settle disputes for many people. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore." Isaiah 2, verses 2 to 4. As I said before, my name is Pastor Phil, and I'm the host of Third Rail Ministries. I welcome you to our daily Advents meditations where we're considering the events, some stories, and now some prophecies in the Old Testament that point toward the lineage and the connection that God has from creation all the way to the advent of the Christ child. We do so because we're trying to ascertain a bit of God's character, look for his evidences along the trail of pointing toward the Christ child, and discover that the plan of salvation has always been in place. Today we're considering another prophecy regarding the coming of Jesus Christ as he is portrayed as the Prince of Peace. We're using the Jesse tree back there where we're hanging different bulbs with key words on them. Today's bulb has the word peace on it, and then if you look at the Jesse tree when it's all done, you'll have key words all over that'll give you clues as to what we talked about. I want to read you one more little text, just a verse. It's a very famous one. "For a child will be born to us, and a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace." You know, in a world filled with the quest for power as ours is, and that often leads to war, violence, arguments, the desire to be right no matter what, it is sometimes difficult to see how Jesus could be that all-powerful God of the Old Testament and at the same time be the embodiment of peace. Physical safety and political harmony, which so often are characterized as peace, don't necessarily reflect the kind of peace that we're talking about here, though. I'm sure all of us know that you can look at a calm individual and you can look at any kind of a thing, a group of people, and that doesn't necessarily indicate that peace is the key. John 14:27 says this, it records Jesus saying this about what peace is. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. So let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." The Hebrew word for peace is shalom. And as I referenced before, it often is applied to the appearance of calm or tranquility of individuals, groups, or nations. If nations weren't fighting, they were at peace. If groups of people weren't arguing, they're at peace. If individuals weren't arguing, they're at peace. But as I mentioned before, we often know that just because the appearance of peace may look like peace, it's often not the case. The deeper, more foundational meaning of peace is a spiritual harmony that is brought about by an individual's restoration with God. In our sinful state, we're enemies with God. That's just the hard reality of it. We may not like it. We may like to think as Christians that we're above that, or at least improving on it. But we're sinners. God is righteous. There is an impassable gap between there. But God demonstrates his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, he sent his son Jesus to die for us. And this Christmas, we celebrate the coming of that prophesied Messiah. Because of Christ's sacrifice, not our ability, we are restored to a relationship of peace, or harmony, if you will, with God. This is the deep abiding peace between our hearts and that of the creators that cannot be taken away because it's not ours. You can't take it. It's a gift. It's grace. And the ultimate fulfillment of Christ as the Prince of Peace. So let me reframe that for you a little bit. Because Christ died on the cross, he became that bridge, if you will, of restoring, putting back into harmony, helping put back together that which was broke. That's why so much of the advent of the Christ child and the coming new kingdom stretches first back to the original creation. Created perfect, created in harmony, created one with God, and yet through sin we fell into discord. We fell out of harmony. And that's Satan's goal, is to always keep us away from God, out of step with God, separate from God. And until the Christ child came, there was no hope for any salvation or any righteousness before God, as there now is through Jesus. So Jesus coming to the cross can best be said as it's a foundational, theological, fundamental thing of the restoration of the creation with the Creator. For the believer, God calls us to live with a singleness of purpose in mind and with other believers, not because we need to act peaceful, not because we need to behave peacefully, although that's important, but because the state of restoration that exists between our heart and God's causes us to be in harmony, and we share that harmony with our other believers. So humility is a natural offspring of peace. Gentleness, natural offspring of harmony. Patience, easier to achieve with peace. We work toward being diligent to preserve the unity that brought by the Spirit. Ironically, though, I will tell you this. The slightest definition of peace, this biblical peace, the slightest definition of even acting peacefully, even the appearance of tranquility in a person can be the most difficult to grasp and maintain. It's important to note that being peaceful doesn't imply or promise easy. Jesus never promised easy. He just promised that he would journey with us. He also said that if we called on him, he would be there and he would give us the peace of God which surpasses all comprehension. So no matter what hardships we face, we can ask for that peace, that restoration. We can ask for a refreshing of that peace that comes from God, from that powerful love of God that is not dependent on our strength or the situation around us. We are in some challenging times. It's not the first time the believers of Jesus Christ have faced challenging times. Sometimes it's very hard when the earthly pressures and the earthly competition and the earthly discord threatens the very foundations of our personalities and persons. It is important at that time to remember first that though life becomes fundamentally or foundationally troubled and it seems like everything is falling apart, our faith in Jesus Christ and our connection with his sacrifice on our behalf leaves us in harmony, righteous before our God, and connected to our God. And it is from that strength post, that pillar, that we begin to work our way back out and push back Satan's tides of discord, Satan's thrilling playground of arguing and violence and trauma. Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace. The government that he is bringing rests solidly on his shoulders. His sacrifice was more than just a willingness to die on a cross for us. It was a fundamental change that began the restoration and the recreation of perfect creation. So wherever you do today, have a great day. And if you found this helpful, then subscribe and share. And if you want to like the little bell there, because like everybody else on YouTube, that will help you get notification every time we put up a new video. God bless, and may God's peace be with you.